Wah, 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 wah. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man. What? What do you mean this isn't Star Trek? Then what the devil am I talking about? What ship? Who's the captain? What? What do you mean this is about a staff sergeant? Are you kidding me? Where's my agent? Someone get my agent on the phone right now. I can't work like this. I can't and I won't. Let me see you find someone else with these golden pipes to narrate for you in this town. You won't do it. I won't have it. Good evening, and welcome to Chapter 2 of Book 1 of You Should Be Reading. I just want to take a moment here before we get into things to thank everyone tuning back in after last week's rambling slapdash episode. Hopefully, I'm still going to ramble, just to let you know, but hopefully in future episodes, things are going to be a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more better put together, because I'm going to be scripting things a little more. Uh, Last week was all about me getting this video up, getting it done, put online, so that I didn't lose my nerve to do this. Now that it's up and I've got some momentum built up behind me, it's going to help push me forward. And now, this week, we're into Chapter 2. So, here we go. Last week we delved back into the past. This week I thought we should take a look into the future. That's right, we're going sci-fi this time. As you can see with the shirt, with the opening, we're going to be looking at Valor's Choice by Tanya Huff. This is actually the omnibus edition, which contains the first two books. We're just looking at the first this time around. There are currently 5 books out in this one. It's probably going to be easier to find the second, the omnibus edition that has the two together, than finding the single one by itself, although you might be able to. If you go check around a used bookstore, you can probably net a single edition pretty easily if you look. And if rumor is to be believed, book 6 in this series is going to be coming out sometime in 2015. So, why should you be reading this book? Well, it's a delightfully science fiction war story centering on a multi-species marine unit fighting a war against a vicious group of aliens simply known as the Others. Nobody knows what they're actually called. That's just what the Confederation calls them. Now, the Confederation is, and they're also another species of aliens, but these particular group of aliens have evolved past the need for war centuries, maybe even millennia ago. They've left it so far back in the past that as a species, as a culture, they don't really know how to wage war anymore. So, in order to protect themselves when the others showed up and started aggressively attacking their systems and wanted nothing to do with diplomatic peace talks or anything, they sought out a more aggressive species, a few more aggressive species. In fact, one such species were the humans, which were rather adept at war. They didn't just come to us, though. They sought out other species as well. One such race was the Ditaken, or maybe it's Ditaken. I'm not really sure. Hold on. There you go. Ditaken. They are basically they basically look like elves for the most part, whether they're male or female. They're all tall, slender, gorgeous looking. They move with effortless grace. They even got pointy ears. They're elves. Their hair, or what really looks like hair, but it's not. It's a sensor array of some kind, protein based, I believe. It gives them heightened senses, which can be a bit of a drawback at times. They also have pheromones, which, if not masked using technology, basically makes any other species pretty much really friendly with them, wanting to agree with them, wanting to be close to them, if you know what I mean. Now, considering that the Detaken are one of the most sexually promiscuous races in the known galaxy, willing to sleep with just about anything or anyone that catches their fancy, well, that leads to interesting things. Then there are the Cry. The Cry are large bipedal lizard type creatures with an extremely efficient digestion and muscular circulatory nervous system. It's very efficient. They're an apex predator in a way. Now, the Cry can stomach just about anything they eat. They could literally ingest poison and their metabolism would burn it up before it could affect them, depending on the poison. Now, they also have a taste for human flesh, which could be a problem if that hadn't been curbed for the most part. It's almost never really an issue anymore, usually, hopefully. Uh, anyways, those three species tend to make up the core of the fighting units that the Confederation have at their disposal. There are elder races as well, the ones who founded it, the ones who are, extremely peaceful. They're the Mictalk, giant spider creatures with kind of a hive mind and very artistic, very culturally advanced. Then there are the Dornigan, who are very massive mammalian type creatures, almost like elephants crossed with monkeys, crossed with bears, in a way. They're very hard to describe. They're very peaceful, but very slow of movement and speech. They tend to, in a way, they're like treants in a way. They take a long time to come to a decision, but when they do, they stick to it. Then there are the Hassan. The Hassan are basically mice. Yeah, pretty sure. Basically mice. Anyways, the story. The story begins uh, with the war against the others well underway, and our heroine, Staff Sergeant Torin Care, getting a new mission after her, and basically she's getting this new mission after her and what remains of her unit, having just been recently pulled back from the front lines. What she's supposed to do is assemble an honor guard for a group of diplomats from the Confederation on this mission to go and induct a brand new race, a new species into the fight against the others. This species is called, and I'm going to put this up before I say it, the Silthsvis. Try and say that 3 times fast. They are a lizard-like species, kind of like the Cry in a way, but different. I think the Cry are less at home on a tropical world than the Silthsvis. Not sure, can't quite remember, but still, uh, they are lizard-like species, but they're ruled by a very strong warrior caste. There's there's castes in this particular society, regimented cultures, which makes things a little difficult when it comes to diplomacy. But this particular the need for this combat unit, which is definitely not an honor guard, but they need it to come in and impress the Silthsvis, to basically show them their battle honors, and look at us. We are powerful warriors like you, so you should listen to us. Is basically what it is. Now, if that wasn't enough an issue for Torin to deal with, most of the unit she has to put together is from the survivors of the company. And this platoon she's putting together for an honor guard, what she manages to cobble together, basically, well, misfit is a term that tends to spring to mind when thinking of many of these people. One of them is basically said point blank in the first chapter is a complete screw up. And this is one of the people on the team that gets brought along. So, oh, did I mention that she also has to break in a brand new second lieutenant? And that he is a Detaken, and not just any Detaken. No, 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 no. The same Detaken that she woke up in bed with that very morning. Wow. That's awkward. But this is Staff Sergeant Torin Care, and if it's one thing she's good at, it's getting things done. So, she puts together the best possible unit and has everything ready by the time they ship out on an easy peasy escort mission. And any of you who play video games, especially MMOs, should already be seeing the warning signs. Easy? Escort mission? Surely you jest, good sir. Ha ha! Well, the diplomats and the Marines, they make it to the planet and start with the tour, showing off battle honors, showing off their skills, this, that, the other thing, kind of making headway. There's a few bumps, there's a few sticky points here and there. I think a bar brawl happens, but more or less things are kind of okay. They're kind of going well until the trouble comes when they get shot down completely suddenly. No warning, just missiles coming from out of nowhere, shoots down their ship in transit. But it shoots down their ship over a kind of a reserve that the Silsphus has put up, where the Silsphus youth, when they're going through puberty, they tend to get, I think it's just the males, but it might be the females, but I'm pretty sure it's just the males, get really super aggressive. So the Silsphus have the wonderful thought to just put all of them together in a great big reserve and let them duke it out, and the strong will survive. So in their mind, it's a win-win. They are an alien race after all. But their ship crashes, and that puts Torin and her unit smack dab in the middle of hostile territory with minimal resources, a brand new second lieutenant who has not seen any battle yet, and a large group of civilian peace-loving diplomats to protect. So what does she do about all this? And who shot them down? Well, I'm not going to tell you. Sorry. To find out the rest, you'll just have to read it. I would like to take a moment right now, though, to talk about Tanya Huff's writing style. I've read a number of her books, sci-fi, fantasy, even urban fantasy with a vampire teaming up with a detective. And all in all of her books, all of her characters and her dialogue and the style she has, it's a load of fun to read. There's a lot of moments of humor tucked in all over the place. And some of the turns of phrase she has her characters speak, it's just wonderful to imagine the whole situation they're in and the way they're being said. I'm not just saying this because she's a Canadian author either. No, her books are able to paint for me a picture of the world she's crafted within the pages as easily as any television show or movie does on the screen. The stories are vibrant and enjoyable and just downright fun on a number of levels. And this book, in the series that it belongs to, is both an adventure where good must rise up against overwhelming odds to triumph, but it's also a thoughtful look at how war can not only change and harden a person, but how it can test your resolve and push you to limits. Now, I could be reading too much into this, but Tanya Huff did serve in the military for a number of years, so I'd like to think she kind of knows a little bit about this. Either way, it's a good book. You should read it. Now, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. If you like what I'm doing here, please like and subscribe to my channel, and feel free to send any love, hate, agreements, disagreements, cake, or trick. You'll find out about that in the book. To youshouldbereading@gmail.com. It should be popping up here on the screen. Or tweet me on my Twitter account @Pravikun. And that brings us to the end of this chapter this week. So, this week, you should be reading Valor's Choice by Tanya Huff. And I'll leave you with this. Lieutenant Jarrett stood as well and nodded toward her slate as they crossed the cantina in step. Is there anything specific I should know about the people you've chosen? They all would have preferred that I'd chosen someone else, but other than that, no. Torrin considered it a good sign that the lieutenant was asking her for information. Too many officers came out of training thinking that they were going to win the war single-handedly. Fortunately, that kind of officer usually didn't last long in front of a combat unit. Sometimes the enemy even got a chance to remove them. She frowned thoughtfully as she took the stairs up a deck. They're all good people to have at your side in a fight, sir, but I'm not sure how they'll manage ceremonial duties. General Morris seemed to think that the Silsvits would be more impressed by your battle honors than by an ability to march in straight lines. Lucky for us. However, he did suggest we run over some basic drill while in transit. Torrin snorted. You don't think it's necessary, Sergeant? Necessary? Yes, sir. Survivable? She shrugged. The General seems to think that the platoon can consider this a sort of working leave. Does he, sir? You don't? Either we're working or we're on leave. We can't logically do both. Good point. But the General thinks... Pausing outside the captain's door, Torrin sighed and turned to face the lieutenant. It was easy to forget, given their maturity in other areas, that a detaken second lieutenant was as young and inexperienced as a human one. Begging your pardon, sir, but you'll be giving orders to this platoon, not to the General. It might be best if you think for yourself. His earpoints drooped slightly, but his tone showed none of the embarrassment he was clearly feeling. I'll take that under consideration, Sergeant. Thank you, sir. She meant it sincerely, and made it sound as much like thank you for listening as she could. Nobody liked to be patronized, and second lieutenants uncertain of their own power least of all. Lieutenant Jarrett studied her face, then suddenly smiled. You know, the General also told me that a good staff sergeant is worth her weight in charge canisters. I suspect General Morris has never been in combat, sir. Why? Because if that's all he's getting for a good staff sergeant, he's getting screwed, sir.